So my name is Rob Richards. I'm with the World Bank team, if you didn't remember that from day one when I introduced everyone. So today I'm going to take you through an exercise on drafting a terms of reference. This is a term that's just generally used. You can use that as also analogous to an RFP or an RFQ, just the terms of reference. So we're going to maybe have to shorten the timelines just a little bit because we started a little bit later. I'm going to give you just a refresher on what's involved with the terms of reference and then some quick examples. And then we're going to, again, use the tables. I put out a piece of paper on everyone's table, and each of you are going to discuss and draft your own terms of reference. So you, after the introduction, you can discuss at your tables the project, prepare a TOR outline, and then prepare to present your TOR outlines to the group. And then each presentation, what we'll do is when I end the time for talking amongst the small group time, then I'll have you tape all of your proposals up onto the wall so that you don't change anything else before the presentations, and then we'll go around the room and present, and then we'll have a big group discussion on things that were interesting that came about from it. So the things to remember from David Baxter's presentation on terms of references. Remember, the TOR should mimic what you would like in the PPP contract. There shouldn't be any surprises when you get to the contract stage for the company that you've hired. It should all have been spelled out in those terms of reference. They should know what to expect. Remember, this is your main document of communicating to the market exactly what you want out of the project and what you expect of them. Terms of references define the vision, objectives, scope, and deliverables, or what has to be achieved. Stakeholders' roles and responsibilities, who should take part in it, resource, financial, and quality plans, and how it will be achieved, and work on the breakdown of structures and schedules. When should it be delivered? When should things be achieved? You're creating the benchmark by which all of the proposals that are submitted during the RFQ and RFP stages will be measured against. This is from David's presentation on the structure of the TOR, the main groupings of it: background information, scope of work, task deliverables and reporting, resources, information, and payment structures. This is one of 3 examples I'm just going to show you. Now, all TORs that you see around the world sort of follow this loosely, but they're organized a little bit differently, and you'll have your own unique one for NCP and for Saudi Arabia. This one is the one that David's been talking about a lot, that Luciana helped put together, and that's the Caribbean Toolkit. And you saw this yesterday and today. And you can see it starts with the project description, qualification terms and procedures, qualification application requirements, evaluation procedures, so on and so forth. This next one is from the World Bank Resource Center for PPPs on a draft of an RFP. So you can see it's slightly different on how they group things, but it still has all the main components. The introduction, instructions for bidders, evaluation, and so on and so forth. This next one is from an RFP from the Virginia P3 program when they were submitting RFP out to receive proposals. Again, slightly different. The one thing they included here is they included key dates. So you can see the issue date of when this RFP is sent out, the technical proposal when that's due, the financial proposal when that's due. They uniquely divided those up into 2 different documents. And then the selection process, when the project was to reach commercial closure, and financial closure, including start of construction. So get into what we're going to do right now. You're all going to break into smaller groups. Oh, look at that. You already are. And you're going to discuss the project brief that I'm going to show you in just a second. As a team, you are all to create a TOR outline. Now this should be, you can sort of start as an example with a table of contents, if you will, but it should expand a little bit further than that. You should have a little bit more detail in it. Keeping in mind that you definitely do not have the time to sit down here right now and in the next half hour and draft out a full TOR, but you should have each of the sections and subsections of everything that you would like to include in your TOR. Be sure to fully develop the outline with specific criteria, and this outline should be easily convertible. You could hand this to someone and they could easily flesh it out into a full TOR. So here is the first part of the project brief. This project that you're all going to be discussing is a road expansion to an airport. Now this expansion is needed because it needs to accommodate increased traffic from the airport to the city. It also needs to accommodate new developments in logistics. So now with this airport being a bigger hub, there are new logistics around. Maybe there is a mail center like a FedEx or an Amazon or something like that, and it's going to increase the local economy and the national economy. Also hotels and tourism, because this airport will be becoming more of a hub, and then housing in the area to support those economic developments. The expansion may include toll lanes, but it must also include free lanes. If the tolls are included, they can be fixed or variable pricing. Land will need to be acquired for the proposed expanded footprint. This will come from both government and private land. Also, some of the land is currently occupied by housing, so you're going to have to address that in your TOR and how you would mitigate the negative impact. New exit ramps will be needed to connect current and planned developments, and the proposal must meet the government's requirements for exit ramps. But you can put in a clause in there that the private company can propose alternative solutions or additional exits. The road expansion is for a 30-mile stretch, again, a 30-kilometer stretch. Again, this is just going from the airport to the city. The expansion is going from 4 lanes to 8 lanes and adding 6 additional road exits from the existing 4. The budget, 1 billion real. Contract term, 30 years, including a 3-year construction period. And the bid and procurement timeline, like that one I showed you from Virginia, that's what I want you to develop as well in your TOR. Does anyone have any questions? If you have any need for further information, ask me, let me know.
So we will build the case based on the specifications mentioned?
Yes, exactly. Anything that's not in there, you can add in, make it more creative and unique to what you're discussing.
We will not focus on the technical part. We will just the structure of the terms of...
Well, the technical part is part of a TOR, right?
Yeah, I know, but we will mention technical part similar as what we have mentioned in the slide. We don't have to add because we need technical things.
That's true, but this is a brainstorming exercise. If you're doing this in reality, then you would, of course, have the technical team. But if you're not the technical team, you need to have some level of understanding and awareness of what they would bring to the table, right? So you should take that into consideration when you're drafting this. Any other questions? Okay.
Are we adding 6 more exits or 2?
You're adding 6 more exits. Yes. So let's go ahead and discuss for at least the next 20 minutes amongst yourselves. Okay, if you have not already done so, please hang your papers up on the wall. And the sooner you do this, then the sooner we'll have time as a larger group to expand upon anything that you wrote.
مكتوبة كده في مربع الحالة. Revenue profit sharing.
Okay, let's start with this group.
Okay, so the basic components of the terms of reference we have is first the background, which includes the vision objectives, scope of work, and the deliverables we expect. And then we mention the objectives of the projects we have. That includes the major goal, the major targets we have. And then we describe the intended achievements from the project. And then we provide the resources required and define what is expected. After that, we proceed to highlighting the key issues and listing the criteria for the project. And thirdly, we have the methodology, defining the project phases, the timeline, and specifying the stakeholders and their responsibilities.
So to expand a little bit upon what you've written here, what would be some of the key highlights? Some of like the key performance indicators or something that would be listed in based on this specific project. But what would examples of those be?
As a KPIs?
KPIs for the toll road.
Maybe timely delivery of the asset.
Number of users, probably.
Number of users. So the first KPIs are going to be the asset.
Availability of facilities, maybe if it's a toll road, and so on.
Right. Did you decide amongst yourselves whether there would be toll lanes or not?
Yes, there should be some toll lanes.
There should be toll
Yeah.
lanes. Where should the toll lanes be? Should they be for local traffic, or they should be going to the airport?
Going to the airport, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we wrote here some on our notebook. We think the background, the brief that it's giving, it will be covered more than enough. However, the scope, it's to, first of all, some of the scope will be under the government control to secure the land of the at least 12 meters, the widers of the roads. And once it's secured from the government, will be transferred to the private sector to have a designing, build, operating, maintenance, and then transfer. We will have a 50% of it toll. You have to pay on it all the way, the 30 kilometers, to platform in each way. Then we have the report. We ask to have it on a monthly base during the construction. Then it will be on a quarter. We put one of the elements that once the project, during the 27 years that cover the cost of the construction and the operation, then we will transfer it totally freely to every single user.
Okay.
That's it.
So the transfer to every single user, so does it, upon transfer, does it maintain the toll road? Is it just transferring?
Yes, even this will be transferred.
Okay. Did you consider at all, I said, some of the land that needs to be purchased or acquired?
Yes, will be under the control of the government.
Okay.
Whenever it's secured, it will be immediately transferred to the private sector. And we have quite negotiate whether the owners of those houses, we convert, instead of giving them cash, we convert it as shares in the company or not.
Okay, interesting. That's a very innovative and interesting way of doing that.
Thanks.
Something to consider, I've heard a lot the government will take control over buying the property, so that's a good part, but what is the decision of what property needs to be bought? When you're doing the feasibility study from the government side, you have this idea in your head, but the private sector may come in and provide new and inventive ways of acquiring land. Maybe they will go through and only need to take out a few houses as opposed to the whole development. So consider these things as opposed to putting them purely on the government side as a risk of allowing the private sector to provide some innovation to it.
Okay, the background, there is already existing 4 lanes as well as 4 exits, and the budget 1 billion. The scope is to develop, including the design and construction of 4 lanes and 6 exits. The contract period is 30 years, including 3 years of construction. That's mean it's going to be about 27. The concession period will be 27, include of operation and maintenance. The resources required, we put a high-level financial, human resource, as well as tool and equipment as a resources. For payment, we suggest to be based on volume and proposing a minimum number of vehicles to cover any loss or underutilization from because the development based on the expected expansion in tourism and hotels. So that's it.
Demand-based payments, is this going to be from availability payments from the government that's providing to
Actually,
PPP, or are there toll booths that are set up?
what we suggest not about availability, because this will affecting the private investment. It's going to be based on the volume, the number we're going to propose a minimum number of vehicles. If the vehicle below that number, we're going to charge the government with this minimum, even if it's underutilization. There is some risks also we identified with the team regarding the free versus the charged lanes, and would this affect the flow of the vehicles, as well as the pre-designed exits, because they're going to propose the exits, so we aren't sure it's going to be after or before the toll road, so getting the fees. As well as I think it's a major risk regarding the land acquisition. Usually it should be from the government because it needs time to do so. So this is the...
Okay, excellent. You gave great detail in there. I liked how you talked about the risk allocation. You also talked about how the PPP was going to be paid. That's good. Good. This table.
Okay, for the we considered some of the risks that the company might face, and one of which is the volume of the usage of this road, and how they will be able to make an investment into this expansion of the road. So some of the ideas for the revenue model were to first to enable technology in the toll roads and be selective. For example, because there's a lot of variables, we can use EC cards or camera technology to be selective in which cars will be charged, taken toll from. For example, commercial cars in transportation, but for personal transportation might be excluded. Also the usage of billboards, advertisement billboards, and stations or logistics stations. and but also some of the difficulties will be in the acquisition of the lands, and yes, just to break even in this investment, the company will need a revenue of 37 million per year for the duration of the 27 years after they finish the construction. Okay.
No, I like that. Selective toll road system. So you're talking about commercial vehicles, so trucks or things like that. But everyone else would be free flow. I like that you talked about the technology used. So good. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are explaining our TOR. Actually, the project is about making our picture of our city to everyone who just coming to the city or leaving the city. Is the last thing they can see. And the road should be just catchy and you will never forget it. That was one of the missions and the visions that we have. Of course, not only this, that is also to make it easy a way to going in and out of the airport for during the traffic, during the rush hours, just also to make our tourism, just when they come, they can just come feel cozy and feel free, and they can feel also how our hospitality is just becoming more and more, and we are improving it. So this is the first thing we wrote in the background, the info, explaining the vision and the mission of our project. Then we have the purpose and the objective, which I just explained, and how is that will be get back benefits of and then in the point of economical view, how that will be beneficial for our government and also for the area. The third one is the description of the area environment. The main reason that we put it in the background of the info, because this information is very necessary. They have to know each and everything of that area. If it's possible that we can improve it, is it impossible that we can invest in it or not? The third one is the government and the related reports. Actually, this one, we had a lot of discussion here in the group, how we're going to do that. Why? Because as you said, or you mentioned, the fund is 1 billion Saudi Riyal, so we assume that project is in Saudi Arabia. So we have a lot of regulations going. So the first one, we put, for example, we have to get a lot of report from the Ministry of Transportation, a lot of report from the Ministry of Tourism, a lot of tourism, sorry, a lot of report from the economic, from the economical side, a lot of regulations, a lot of legal issues that could face us in the future, or while we are presenting that project. So the governmental side, it has to be covered and it has to be studied and it has to be has a lot of information be available once we are presenting this to our investors. The fifth one is the expected outcome and the feasibility study of that. The expected outcome, actually, first of all, it should be economical, which will help us to attract more people to our city. When you're expanding the roads and you're expanding all the areas that leading to the airport, which will help us in, how can I explain that? For the cargo, this is one of the issues also, one of the ladies mentioned it before. Whenever you are giving or importing any products from the airports, these roads should be the easiest way, or the easiest, let's say the easiest entrance to the city. So which will help us save time, it will help us, I'm stuck, and be more efficient. This is all included in the background of the information. The second one, we said the scope of work and the deliverables. Of course, the research and study. Then the gap and the challenge analysis. Actually, there is a lot of challenges analysis, especially if we go unrecovered and we check all the regulation in Saudi Arabia. So we will have a lot of challenges, and we have to mention that, and we have to make it very clear. Then coming to the benchmark. Of course, like in such a project, we will hire a consultation company. The company will come. They have to do the full analysis in helping of the Ministry of Planning, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of the municipality of the same city or the area. They will cover a lot of, or they will reveal a lot of challenges. First one of them, or the main one of them, which is you mentioned, that we have the acquisition part, that we have to acquire a lot of houses that we might have to pay, and we have maybe to move those people from there, or maybe to provide another solution for that, especially that problem. Then the benchmark. I think as a consultation company, I'm sorry? We can put them as investors. Why not? I don't know why we don't have this. Yeah, this idea. When you have to acquire a land, you don't need to buy the full land. You can make them as a part of the project, as you can give him some percentage to be part of that investment. Also, we have the benchmark. Like as a consultation company, you have to give us your experience before. If you have similar project has been done before in any other countries, they have to provide also the analysis, the gap analysis. Then you have to do the cross-check analysis between the before project that company has been done before, and also do another cross-analysis between the current project, which we are going to do now. Then the deliverable and the solution plan. We have the financial projection. We have the construction plan and the time that it could be, how long it will take. Then we have the execution plan. That's, now we're ending from the scope of work and deliverables. The third one is the qualifications, the language, and the competent law. Fourth one is the payment terms, the phases, and the TOC. Who wrote that? The certificate of what?
Completion.
Of completion process. And then 5, the timeline. How long that project will take, and so on.
So how long would the whole bid process take in your mind?
Actually, we, as per the contract, or as you said, we have 3 years for the construction. Let's say, but
the bid process, so when you put in...
the bid process.
6 weeks for the whole...
Maximum 6 weeks, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who wants to talk to you?
Okay, so we've created a small table of contents. We put 9 major items on it. The first item is abbreviations, the definitions of the RFP itself. Then the second is the introduction of bidder. Within it, we put the communication plan, the language, the framework, the project charter that they're going to use. Then we talked a bit about the background of the project itself. It's a 30-kilometer road from the city to the airport itself. Then we talked about the fourth major point is the scope of work. Within it, it's the technical part. Within the technical part, we spoke about 4 key areas: the demolition plan, the relocation plan, the road build, and the exit solutions as well. And then we talked about the financial, the framework, and the payment methods itself. Then we moved to the duration and the time plan itself. And then we talked about the rules and regulations, either governmental or environmental. And the seventh point is the complementary projects. Within the complementary projects are the hotels, the logistics, and the relocation of the houses for the facilities around the area. The fifth point is the handover period and the criteria for handover and closing of the project itself. And the last, finally, is the evaluation and the criteria method itself.
Okay, thank you. No, I like that you put in the complementary projects, thinking about that and the overall impact of the economy in the area and how to assess that and build that in. Good. And lastly?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hisham Al-Dabbagh from State Transportation Department. I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation today to come as qualified bidders for this project. As part of the government vision to cater to the significant increase in the number of visitors to the city, the state government decided to conduct an airport road expansion, which is currently 30 kilometers, as you all know. The expansion of the current 4 lanes to 8 lanes and 4 exits to total 10 exits, adding additional 6 exits. So this is the background of the project. I would like also to introduce our partners, Mr. Abdullah, our financial advisor, and Mr. Ibrahim, our legal advisor, and Naif, our technical advisor. The scope of work for this project, as I have previously mentioned, the government would like to increase the existing lanes and the exits. Also, this project should cater to the logistics, hotel, tourism, and housing development. The expected duration of the contract is 30 years, and the delivery model is decided to BOT. The expansion of the road will take into consideration offering an alternative 3 lines in addition to toll road as an income scheme to the project. Also in the scope of work, the contractor, which will be one of you, will be responsible of delivering the infrastructure, road assistant, and emergency services. The tasks, deliverables, and reporting. We will have we will have to estimate the land valuation and the acquisition plan for the land, development of infrastructure and the design. Also on the deliverables of this project, integrating and connecting the recent and the planned development, phases of implementation and project integration, PIP, project implementation plan. The responsibility of the contractor will be also covering the permits and licensing. The progress reporting and monitoring will be on a monthly basis. Safety as well is a key factor in the deliverables. Public transportation as well should be considered in the design. Our financial advisor, why don't you just continue that?
Thank you. Also to provide paid and free services, part of the, let's say, the task and responsibilities on the contractor. For the resources, as my colleague mentioned, that the resources based on the revenue sharing on this project, for the payment structure that we plan to put the payments for the land on the reimbursing of the lands, and also the payments against the infrastructure implementation of the road. So Basically, we are structuring the terms of payments for this project. There is a part will be paid against the service. There is a part will be against the maintenance as well and operation. Okay, and end of the project, as a guarantee, there will be an amount to be held until the end of the project as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this was a very easy exercise, right, everyone? It's of course, you can draft a TOR in a half hour, right? All of you have this practice now. You can go back to NCP and do it, right? No, it's impossible, right? As David had said before, this is something that takes weeks long. A meeting like this, you would sit down for a whole day discussing one section, right? And you should have already had a lot of the elements that you talked about. You should already have the economic study. You should have the feasibility analysis done. You should have already gone through all the checks with the various agencies and ministries in the government before you even are drafting this TOR, right? You're including that information for just information for the company, letting them know that everything is ready to go. I did like, there was some level of innovation and different ways of thinking about things, and you can see how difficult it is. We had some people who were saying, charge tolls to people going to and from the airport. Others said charge tolls on commercial vehicles. So what this project is loosely based on, it's an amalgam of several different ones, but in my head I had, if you've been to Washington, D.C., the Dulles Toll Road. So what they do there that's unique is the free lanes, the fast lanes, go directly from the airport to the Beltway. So when you go to the airport, there are only entrances onto the free lanes, and when you come from the airport, there's only exits. And then on the outside for all the local traffic is the toll roads. It's an interesting concept. It doesn't mean it's right or it works for every project, right? Just a different way, innovative way of thinking about things. Some of you allowed for a little bit more freedom in the TOR, allowing for the private sector to give you more of the innovation. So when you would do it, I would hesitate to put, unless you know perfectly well that this exit needs to go right here, you just say, there needs to be an exit that connects this area to the road. And the private sector can provide that innovation. An example of where this is coming from in my mind, again, is in Virginia with some of the other toll roads there, is that the government had these plans and the private sector came back with an innovative approach to take less private property away from people and have less cost and less risk to the local population. They also came back and said, okay, we see these 6 new exits that you want. How about these 4 more? Because when we do our own study here, we know that there's going to be increased demand and use of the road. So you want to allow that flexibility in the TOR for the private sector to bring you something. What may have been missing is, why do you want this project to be a PPP? Explain that, because you're putting down the criteria of what you need out of it, but if you know exactly what you need and you don't need anything from the private sector, then what's the purpose of it being a PPP, right? You can just do it with a traditional government financing, right? Or you do a design build contract. So overall, I think we got a good, very high level picture of a TOR from everyone in the group altogether. There was things that certain people were missing and others were supplementing it from theirs. It was very interesting. I hope you got a lot out of this. So let's go ahead and have our tea break, and then we'll come back for the next case study. Thank you so much.
Thank you.